Hi, my name is Rebecca Lee, and I co-wrote this book here, The Mercury Detoxification Manual, with Andy Cutler, PhD, who should have got the Nobel Prize for what he figured out. This talk is going to be about what not to do. This is an extremely important topic, and I hope that anybody listening will share widely. I've been following people's poisoning and detoxing stories now for 10 years. And the worst disasters are from people doing things that are on the what not to do list. And by disaster, I mean people winding up in a physical state that is very difficult to recover from, or even worse, in a psychological mess to the extent we have seen people committed to mental institutions or committing suicide. So when I say share this information widely, do that in the interest of helping humanity. In the chapter, What Not to Do, in the book, Andy Cutler said, mercury is extremely toxic and moving it around your body is dangerous. Don't try random things. This was addressed to people who are doing his protocol, but it is pretty important information even for your average person. There are a whole lot of people out there who have some of this stuff in their body and are doing just fine. Thank you, but believe me, you don't want to move any mercury from some place where it's minding its own business into another place where it's going to ruin your life. Andy told me he thought between 30 and 50% of the population has enough mercury in their bodies to cause symptoms. Actually, everybody has some mercury, even if they only got it from volcanoes. So even for your average, not very sick person out there, the following is some profound, useful advice. So, number one, don't take anything that chelates metals while you have amalgam fillings in your mouth. Don't let anybody tell you, like they did to me, go ahead and take this DMSA or DMPS or alpha lipoic acid and don't worry about those silver fillings you have in your mouth. Even the smallest piece of amalgam is a huge reservoir of mercury in the grand scheme of things. Don't take anything that chelates mercury and that is going to pick that up and move it all over the place and drop it off who knows where. 2, don't take chelators off their half-life. This will cause mercury or whatever other metal to get redistributed. This half-life thing, keeping the blood levels steady and chelating a minimum number of days, is what Andy figured out. He said this about a lipoic acid to me: it should be taken every 3 hours or not at all. Check your supplements. Sometimes the manufacturers throw lipoic acid into multivitamins. Don't take lipoic acid randomly. Don't take any other chelators randomly for that matter either. 3, don't use cilantro to detox. Yes, cilantro does detox mercury and perhaps other stuff. We don't know. It appears to cross the blood-brain barrier too. The reason you can't use it is because nobody knows its half-life, and it is an herb, and its strength varies from plant to plant. I suppose if I were stuck on a desert island somewhere with a bunch of toxic people, I would have to figure out how to use it. But for now, there's lipoic acid, which is just as natural and easy to get in this fat-soluble chelator, and that crosses the blood-brain barrier. We see many people who have injured themselves with cilantro smoothies and such, and the state they wind up in is sometimes really terrible. So don't do it. Don't try it. Yes, it is all natural, but so is cobra venom, and so is strychnine. They're all natural too. 4, don't use chelators that don't work and are dangerous. I'm referring specifically to EDTA. It will increase the amount of mercury showing up in your urine, but that doesn't mean anything if it is moving some of it into your brain, which is what it does. Yes, it chelates lead, but DMSA does that better. It can chelate minerals out of clogged arteries, but you risk giving yourself mercury poisoning if you try that. 5, no detox supplements. Be very suspicious of anything that is advertised as a detox supplement. Chlorella is a famous one of these. A true chelator for mercury has 2 thiol groups, these are molecules which latch onto the mercury ion, pull it away from wherever it is stuck, and move it on its way out of the body. This is the definition of chelation. Chlorella has only one of these thiol groups. It picks up mercury in an unbalanced sort of way and moves it around from one place to another. Yes, in nature it absorbs heavy metals from the inorganic environment, but in an actual human body it behaves very differently. Do not let your dentist give you chlorella to rinse out your mouth after a procedure either. It will tend to put any mercury into solution and make it easier to absorb. 6. Do not use alpha-lipoic acid for anything other than chelating. If your doctor is giving it to you for some reason or other in large, infrequent doses, stop. It doesn't matter if it helps with your diabetic neuropathy, if at the same time it is forcing mercury into your brain. I worked with a person who had taken 500 milligrams of lipoic acid once a day for 5 years, and he wound up in a mental institution. 7. No intravenous anything other than vitamin C. Many doctors are going to want to detox you using IVs. An IV of a chelator is really dangerous. It is going to mobilize a huge amount of metal, and the bulk of it will be redistributed. For case reports of what can happen, visit www.dmpsbackfire.com. The only IVs we recommend are vitamin C IVs, which can provide enormous short-term symptom relief. But be really careful. We have heard so many cases of doctors putting a little something extra into that they thought would be good for you and you would enjoy, and not telling you until it's too late. So we tell people that we counsel to check the ingredients personally before you allow anything to go into your body. The vitamin C IV should only contain C, calcium gluconate, magnesium chloride or sulfate, and unpreserved sterile water or half normal saline for injection. 8. To double down on the topic of dangerous IVs, never do glutathione IVs. These will cause an enormous redistribution event without getting any metals out of your body. Andy reported that it is common for people to develop bipolar disorder as well as many other problems after these infusions. The most dangerous aspect of these is that people often have several good experiences before the bad one hits. If you want to raise your glutathione levels, take glutathione precursors and let your body, in its enormous wisdom, decide how much it wants to make and where to put it. For this, you can take 4 parts N-acetylcysteine to 2 parts glutamine to 1 part glycine. But be aware that some mercury people do not tolerate N-acetylcysteine, and they should skip that part. 9. No challenge tests. Andy described challenge tests as faddish and popular. And he said that they provide no useful information. They are also dangerous because of the bolus dose of chelators. Once again, they will mobilize a whole bunch of mercury, and most of it will get redistributed. 10. No liver flushes, because they're just too hard on your poor mercury toxic liver. 11. Watch out for homeopathic detox remedies. Homeopathy depends on the body's natural systems to work. It can be wonderful sometimes for symptoms, but there is no natural way for the body to detoxify mercury and most other toxic elements. Homeopathic detox remedies, in our experience, have consistently made people sick. Avoid all remedies that contain homeopathic versions of toxic elements. So that is a list of things that most people should absolutely just not do. In the book, we also give a table of supplements and medicines to avoid, advice on how to avoid exposure to medical mercury, on how to avoid other medical metals such as bismuth, silver, and platinum, and about diuretics that are bad for toxic people. There is a chart for MRI contrast agents to not get, and fluoroquinolone antibiotics with a list of all their various names. And he says about these fluoroquinolone antibiotics that they have, quote, a risk of adverse reactions in which your tendons rupture, your muscles fall apart, the nerves in your hands and feet don't work right, and your brain stops working properly. And that these reactions appear irreversible. So this is the kind of thing I am attempting to save you from in this talk. To learn more, you can buy the book, which is available at my website, maybeitsmercury.com. And I hope you have found this talk interesting and useful. The point of it is to save you the world of suffering we so often see. Please subscribe and all those things you're supposed to do on social media, and please share this talk.